What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norin Rad89 here, bringing you another video. And for today's video, it's going to be a fun physical media one, as I wanted to discuss 4K and what it looks like and what it does to films and stuff like that. Because I've had a lot of people recently kind of ask me, what's the difference between 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD? Even people in my own household, but mainly just people who watch my channel who aren't familiar with different transfers and stuff like that. And today I wanted to go over, I grabbed a bunch of my favorite 4Ks that I have that are transfers. And I'm not a 4K purist. I don't need every film in 4K, but I have a whole host of ones right here that are really great transfers, and I want to discuss them and stuff like that. And a lot of this is because I've seen these films in other formats too. I've seen these films either on VHS, on DVD, or I've streamed them before, or I watched them on TV. So I've seen all kinds of different versions of all these films we're going to discuss right now. And like I said, I want to talk about like why I think 4K is amazing for some films. And a lot of these are older films, so you're not going to really see new films on here, because 4K transfers for new films, I mean, they should look good. They're new films. They're shot with the best cameras that you have available and everything. A lot of these films were shot on 35 millimeter and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot different, but the 4K transfers are fantastic. So let's get into this video. Roll it. So first up, I want to discuss Ghost in the Shell, and one thing I can tell you right now is that animes look absolutely beautiful in 4K, and Ghost in the Shell is a perfect example of what 4K transfers can do to animes. This is one of those films that I have seen on back in the day. I've rented this film, and I believe I rented this the first time was on VHS, the first time I ever saw this. I've seen this film on streaming. I've even seen this film on TV when they had it on Toonami, sometimes when they premiered it or did special movie events. So I've seen this film in many different facets, and the 4K is completely gorgeous, and it stands out for real. And this one is competing. I'll talk about which other ones are my favorites, but this is one of the one that competes for my favorite in my collection, because anime, like I said, it just has such these, it makes the colors pop and it makes it more rich. And when it comes to 4K and you have the HDR, you have a wider range of color palette that is on screen. And even with this film, there's a depth to this film, and you can see it, and it feels like it's three-dimensional, almost like you're standing in the room with Major and the other characters and stuff like that. Specifically, one scene that looks really, really good is some of the scenes where it's just the boat cruising around in the city, and you're just seeing shots of the city and people going around shopping or doing this stuff or riding boats down the canal. Those shots are some of the best shots in this film. So yeah, I highly recommend the Ghost in the Shell 4K. This transfer knocked my socks off. Next up, we have the Running Man 4K, and this one is a steelbook. This is a really cool one and everything, and this is by Paramount. I believe this was just a Paramount release and stuff like that, so this isn't like a boutique label 4K. Some of the, Paramount and like all them and was it Disney and stuff, they've been putting out 4Ks now, kind of competing with a lot of the boutique labels, and this is another one that is a prime example of a film that I've experienced multiple times in my life on different formats, watching it on TV, watching it on VHS, seeing it on DVD. I don't think I've ever seen this on Blu-ray. There is a Blu-ray, Blu-ray for this film, but I don't think I've ever seen this film on Blu-ray. So I skipped that, and from the DVD went to the 4K, and this is one that, this one pops. It's specifically like the scenes that are with the game show, when you're seeing the game show host just talking about the stuff and just seeing the colors and everything, and they're introducing like all the characters and everything, and like the suits, like Arnie's suit and everything, it just pops. It's very rich, and this is one of those films that like has a perfect grain to it too. So when you're watching it, the thing I worry about with 4Ks is when you're updating an older film, you don't want it to look too flashy or too new. There are some times where the 4Ks make it look like it's just too crisp and almost too perfect, which can be a problem. This film, I think, still has a very nice grain to it, and you can see it on the movie. Now we're going to talk about some boutique labels. We got Vinegar Syndrome right here, and this is my favorite Vinegar Syndrome 4K that I own. Showgirls, like, whew, this one, Paul Verhoeven Showgirls, like, is a perfect example of a film that needs to be on 4K. Not to say it's just because there's beautiful women in this film. No, it's because it takes place in Vegas. That's your main locale, and just the neon lights, the bright colors, the casino setting, the strip club settings, the showgirl dancing settings, you know, when they're shooting the showgirl show Goddess, Nomi, and the dancers, like all their outfits, they pop and everything. The colors in here are so rich, and this is one that looks very crisp. And even because it's Vegas, when you have the daytime scenes, it has a very kind of desert feel to it. Like the landscapes look immaculate. So this is one for real. Showgirls of the Vinegar Syndrome release, I highly recommend. Plus, look at this release, like this cool box. Look, it has a magnet, it lifts up, like it's just it's absolutely gorgeous. Like for real, this is one of those releases that Vinegar Syndrome knocked it out of the park. And they did actually also send out replacement discs for this, which was awesome. Like anybody who bought this through Vinegar Syndrome, you didn't even have to apply for that or anything. They just automatically sent you the replacement discs because there were problems with, I believe, the audio. There wasn't a full audio option or something like that for one of the releases, and they sent out the discs. But in terms of transfer, the way it looks, and now even with, like I said, the replacement discs, the sound, Showgirls is one of those releases that I'm not mad at, and one of my favorite 4K transfers in my collection. Now we're going to talk about some Scream Factory stuff, and this is really cool because these ones are a prime example of two films that I have seen in multiple formats a lot. Halloween 2 was actually the first VHS for a horror film that I ever owned. Halloween 5, really, really huge soft spot for this film. This is one of my absolute favorite slashers of all time, Halloween 5, and I've, like said again, seen this on multiple different formats, owned it in different formats over my time, and the 4K transfers on these are, these films look like new films, which is crazy. Like that's what like surprised me the most. Like watching these ones, and these were some of the ones that my wife actually like noticed too, because she's such a huge Michael Myers fan. So some of the shots when Michael's walking around in the hospital and everything, and the shots and the colors, the greens, the orange, and the lightings, the fluorescent lightings, and even like said, the colors of the outfits, like that pop, it's freaking nuts. It looks like a brand new film, and I'm not mad at that. Like I was saying, some of the 4K transfers, how they make the old films look new, it's wild to watch these ones. And I think this one is even better. Halloween 5 is even better with Tina and the crew and Jamie Lloyd in here. Like for real, the Halloween atmosphere, the colors, everything in this one is just dripping, and it feels like it's coming right out of the screen. So I think they did a fantastic job on these transfers. Another one I want to talk about is the 35th anniversary 4K release of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is a perfect one too because of, like I said, the colors. If you're going to notice, a lot of these older films that I'm picking, they have a lot of colors, a lot of vibrant stuff that pops off the screen. Like I said, all the clowns in here, all the designs of the clowns, there's so many different colors. Or when they go into the spaceship, you know what I mean? In the beginning, like after they see the spaceship kind of land, one specific scene is when they're kind of laying in the car and you see the yellow lighting coming over them as the clown spaceship is flying over. Like, it just really, really pops. This is one of those films that you could see every little detail in someone's face or someone's hair or the clothing. And that's what I mean. That's what 4K does, is it makes your pictures just so much more crisp, rich, and it adds a depth to it. And that's probably my favorite thing. If I was to say my favorite thing about 4K is that it adds depth to the screen, and in not a cheesy 3D fashion. It just looks like you can really see the detail, and you're almost, like I said, you're standing next to them when they're experiencing these things. That's what I'm talking about when I say the depth of the picture. But a lot of people, like I said, they love the crispness and the colors and stuff, because with the HDR, that adds more color layers to the foundation of the 4K transfer. And really, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, they knocked it out of the park. So that's why I wanted to put some Scream Factory stuff on here. We talked about Vinegar Syndrome. Now we're going to talk about my absolute favorite boutique company, and these two are the ones with Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorites, probably top 3, and these are the other two that we're going to talk about. And this one is might be my favorite, the Warriors 4K. Like, boom, this box set is freaking amazing right here. In this Walter Hill film, like, this film just screams and oozes New York in the 70s. It's that grimy, dirty vibe. It's got so much to love. But this one, like I said, you can see all the characters in here. So the details in the street, the colors, everything, this film was nuts to see on 4K for real. Like, I've never seen this film look this good before. And I love seeing the old transfers and stuff. And like I said, this is one of those films, I think the first time I ever saw this was on like HBO Max or Showtime, like late at night, staying up when I wasn't supposed to. I was probably like 10 or 11, and I caught this film on TV. That was the first time I've ever seen it. Most of the times I've seen this film, I streamed it. And I think I used to own this film on DVD. Don't quote me on it, but I think I used to own this on DVD way back in the day. But the 4K for this is outstanding. You can see every drip and drop of sweat on the characters' faces. That scene when like Cyrus is just talking to all the gang members and you see all the colors and hundreds of people just standing there, like, whoo, it's so detailed and so crazy. This is one of those films that, like, I was watching it and you can see posters or graffiti on the wall that I've never seen before. And I was like, this film I've seen probably 20 plus times. And this is one of those ones watching it. I'm like, I'm seeing things I've never seen before. This is amazing. So for real, after watching this on 4K, there is no other way you should be watching this film. This is, like I said, the prime example. And like I said, might be my favorite 4K in my collection, because this is the one that after watching it, I was like, I'm never going to watch this film any other way again. Now, with another Arrow Video one, we have American Werewolf in London, and you knew we were going to talk about this one. Just, it's a fantastic, beautiful release. That's one thing to talk about, but this is another one for real. Like, in terms of, I used to own this on VHS, so watching this on 4K was a freaking trip. And this is one of those ones that the dark levels, I really wanted to talk about the nighttime scenes and the black levels, because a lot of this film takes place at night. There are daytime scenes that look great. The daytime scenes do look chef's kiss, but the perfect, amazing part of this film is the depth and the colors of the black levels with the nighttime scenes. And you can see the blood red and the way it glistens off the moonlight and the lighting that they had in the scene. Oh, specifically when Jack and David get attacked by the Kessler wolf in the beginning of the film. Woof, like for real. The colors of the jackets, the Moors, the nighttime setting, and the black is so deep and so dark. And then when you see the blood and the transition of the red, it's immaculate. Like for real, this is one of those transfers. The Warriors, American Werewolf in London, and Ghost in the Shell are my three favorite transfers, are the ones that I watch and I'm like, this is the pinnacle and peak of 4K and what it can do for releases. And that's why I always tell people, like, you don't have to be, like I said, into 4K. That's not a must. Blu-rays do look beautiful. You can get a lot, and even out of DVDs. DVDs have some beautiful releases. I'm not saying everybody needs to upgrade or go to 4K. I made this video because, like I said, I have a lot of 4Ks in my collection, and I wanted to discuss some of my favorite transfers. And like I said, a lot of these I picked were older films, because these are films that I've experienced and seen on different formats, and kind of just discussing the beauties of 4K. What it can do for old films is that it just has such a great, unique way of bringing to life these old films, and also the fact that 4K is it's region free. That's another thing I want to discuss. A lot of people don't know that 4K is region free. So if you pick up 4Ks, they play on any player, you know what I mean? Except for, I think recently we had a problem with, oh my God, I think the Silent Night, Deadly Night 4K that came out from Scream Factory. That one had a problem, I think, playing on other players, foreign players. So that one, that happened, but that was like a one-time thing. But yeah, so for me, like I said, I'm not a 4K purist. I don't need every film on 4K. But when it comes to movies I don't own, if they're, and especially if they're old, if they're films that I don't own and they're old and there is a 4K release of it, I'm probably going to pick it up, because when you watch the 4K, like I said, my perfect example is The Warriors, Ghost in the Shell, even Killer Clowns from Outer Space. After watching these on 4K, some of them, you don't really want to go back to the other ones because you're like, why would I? Just because it looks so immaculate and so perfect. So like I said, these are my favorite 4Ks in my collection. Please shout out and let me know down below in the comment section. Are you transitioning into 4K? Do you support 4K and you have them in your collection? And what are some of your favorite ones that you own? Shout them out down below. But please like the video. That definitely helps out the channel. Subscribe if you're new to the channel and have that notification bell poked so you're notified anytime I drop a video. But most importantly, I want you all to have a safe and happy day. Peace out.